Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm pretty good considering all the craziness.
Yeah, it's super crazy. Yeah, how are you? What are you like? Are you home? What are you doing?
That is a great question. I am home. I'm reduced hours with Kiesel. So I'm just kind of like maintaining kind of basic stuff because we're not doing artist builds right now.
Yeah, I figured that much.
But we are still building, and we are still moving things along, but it's just been a little bit slower. I'm in East Hollywood, so I'm like,
Oh, cool, great.
It's
Well,
cool.
different.
It's a little different. I'm a little bit like, I was like, I'm going to move to LA last year. That'll be interesting, right? I'll go seek fortune and fame, and that'll be interesting. I'll meet all the famous people, and that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, pandemic. Oh, wait, you're stuck in LA, and zombie apocalypse is around the corner, maybe. I don't know.
Things happen. What can you do?
I know. I'm so happy that you're in Sweden, though.
Me too. I just made it, like, literally 6 hours before the border closed. When I landed in London, they had just announced that the EU borders were closed, and I'm in London in a lounge, like trying to keep it together because I'm like, wait, if all the borders have just closed, that means I could, foreseeably have to turn around the second I get to Sweden. Sweden's like, well, we're closing tomorrow. So I got there 6 at night, and they closed at midnight. So, wow.
Oh man, lucky you.
Yep. Totally.
And whereabouts are you in Sweden?
We're in Stockholm, so
Stockholm.
Major metropolitan area, and things are being handled much differently than the rest of the world here.
That's what I understand. Can you tell us a little bit about like what it is there versus here?
I mean, for the most part, people who have been watching the news and paying attention to world events are staying home. And if they can work from home, they'll be working from home. For the most part, but restaurants are still open, bars are still open, playgrounds are open, kids are out, I mean, universities have closed, and like high schools, I think, have closed. But for the most part, people are still out and about. So not us, though.
Yeah.
Not us. No.
Well, it's a strange, I mean, that all seems reasonable because it seems like Sweden's population is reasonable. It seems like they're, it seems like they're a little more grown adults in some respects, just as a nation, because they have a little more forward-thinking ways of going about stuff at times.
I mean, the population density is also a little bit less in the Sweden as a whole, is about the same size as New York City. But when you're in a city like Stockholm, it feels just like you're in New York anyway. It's people on top of each other, packed subways, packed buses, packed restaurants, packed bars. So you still have to take that same precaution as if you were in in a big city. Well, Stockholm is a big city.
Well, I'm glad if you're stuck anywhere, you're stuck with your love in a place that is progressive minded. That's all.
Yes, we're being as progressive as we can possibly be.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I'm glad that you're safe, and I'm glad that's the case. I mean, I think that we're relatively safe, here staying in place. I wonder about the future. I wonder about, should I stay in LA for longer? Is there, like I'm like tuning into the guttural like feelings, like is this like a thing where I should just stick it out and we'll kind of like.
Well, what do you mean? You mean like you want to move now in the middle of the pandemic? You want to go home? You want to go home?
Yeah, I want my mom.
I want my mommy. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It's really hard to be away from people already, but to know that but I mean, we're all far away anyway. So even if you were home, you'd still can't like hang out with your mom unless you quarantine with your mom or something like that. Right.
And that was actually the first conundrum, was like, okay, everything's going to shit. Should I go home and like be with people? I'm like, wait, I would go there and just be stuck with them indoors.
Home. I mean, we made the decision to be together just because the border had closed from Europe to the US. So he wasn't going to be able to make it in. He was planning on coming in.
Right.
And then we had been hearing these rumors, like it's going to close soon, it's going to close soon. So I kind of like booked a flight. Then I had some things, some things that I needed to take care of personally, which I ended up not doing anyway because the date kept getting moved. So we figured in this, kind of, since we didn't know what was happening, we wanted to stick it out together, as opposed to being thousands and thousands of miles apart. I mean, even if one of us gets sick or something and you can't really, do much for each other, at least you're close by, you can take care of things for that person, but being thousands of miles apart, you're really completely helpless and hopeless. So we thought it would be best for us to be together.
Yeah. I'm envious of the situation. At least I have my dog though. Like I swear if Kimsey, my pup, was not a thing, I would have definitely like packed my bags and got the F out of here. I just
I hear you.
At least I have cuddles. At least I have like somebody that checks in on me, even when I'm like obsessively like going through news feeds and working on stuff. Like she comes in and goes, "Hey, you should go outside to play. You should."
Yeah, come on. Well, she forces you to go outside. I am an indoor person, like I'm a New York City kid that grew up in bad times in New York. We were not allowed outside. So this is normal for me. This is like, oh, I'm 12 again. So
you got this. Yeah.
I got this, single parent, come home alone, don't go outside, don't open the door. This is how I grew up. TV is your friend, read a book, entertain yourself, play an instrument. It's really not, it's how I normally live, actually.
That's a good point. I mean, I grew up mostly as a single child, like a only child. My sister is 8 years younger. I mean, it's quite a bit of a difference.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
So I'd come home latchkey kid style too. And it's interesting because this has definitely like given me at moments when I wasn't like going through despair or like kind of like spinning out a little bit. It has felt kind of like when I was a kid and I was like, wow, I'm kind of bored. What am I going to do? And like, I haven't had that feeling in so long. I'm like, I always have something to do.
Yeah.
Always.
I'm rarely bored, rarely bored. My brain is always, thinking of things, coming up with new things. I have hundreds of books that I'll just crack open for 5 minutes and put it away. Songs, TV, exercises, kettlebell, clean something, fix something. There's always something to do. So I find it really hard, like if you're bored, that's your fault. That's because you're boring.
Yeah.
You're bored because you're boring.
Well, I will say I agree with that, but I will say that it is interesting to reach a point that you kind of start to feel boredom, because that definitely sparks elements of creativity, right? For me, like I'm like, oh, like if I feel like there's an impasse, like there's always something to do and I can always make myself busy. So I'm technically not bored, but like on the level of like, oh, the things I want to do are not available to me. And so I have to turn it around and go, okay, well, you've got like a bunch of music gear. You got how many guitars? Are you writing a song every day? Because you got time to do that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing. Okay, I'll do that.
Maybe.
But that has sparked up. That has felt more alive than it has in a long time. So I'm thankful for that. More guitar playing, more time spent. How about you? Do you have instruments there with you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to take my main ones because literally as I was like getting ready for my flight got canceled and I had to get another flight that left 2 hours earlier. So I just threw things in. I have no idea, like when I was packing, where my mind was. I was just throwing like random shit in my bag. So and knowing the situation with the borders, I didn't want to lug instruments along with, it's a pain in the ass. We all know that it's a pain in the ass. And also we didn't know how long this was going to be. So I figured a couple weeks and I'll be back and that's fine. So, but I do have instruments here. I have my own bass here. I have a wonderful selection of guitars here because, Sweden.
Are you
Meshuggah HQ?
Yeah, I was gonna say, poor you. You're just like inundated with 8 strings from Ibanez. And all kinds of custom.
Too fun. They're way too fun. They're really like, I used to be a real hater of too many strings, but now I get it. Now stuck with them, I really get it. They're so fun to play.
There it is. Like if you're stuck with something and you have less options, the creativity and the willingness to like have something.
To try it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. It's not my thing, but I'd rather do that than nothing. So give me the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I love it. Now I'm screwed. Now I'm stuck.
You like got to go home and, hey, can you add a couple strings to my guitar?
Can I get like 2 or 3 more strings on this?
I just want to add them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. It's fun. And also playing on instruments that are not your own is a nice challenge as well. You know, kind of, because when you have something set up for you the way you like it, it's always, you know, it's good kind of mental exercise to just get out of your wheelhouse and get out of your comfort zone. So that's always fun too.
100%. That's like part of why I like having this podcast and it kind of being loosely centered around guitar picks is because that people will oftentimes settle into one thing and they're like, oh no, I'm good. I got I'm good.
Well,
and I'm like, I gotta
go because I have a whole pouch of picks depending on how I'm feeling.
Ooh. Well, would you tell us a little bit about your beginnings with the guitar picks and maybe even tell us a little bit about your beginnings as a musician? I know that you're classically trained and all this, but maybe just give us some insight as to like what the first couple of guitar picks you remember using or how it came into your life.
Was like first guitar picks was like the free ones that you get at like Sam Ash. It was like heavy, medium, light. That's it.
Yeah.
There was no other things.
It's like out of a dish that was sitting up there probably.
Yeah, you're like, grab them, you know, like free picks. They're like, every time you reach in your pocket, they all fall out like, you know, Bobby Brady pockets, you know. Always have a pick in the, you know, that little tiny coin, that little pocket in your jeans. That's for picks, you know. We all know that. Yeah. We all know that. That's for picks.
Well, you are a guitarist and a bass player. And a vocalist. So like, I'm curious, like, have you noticed yourself kind of shift through the years, like with bass and or guitar? Is there one pick that kind of shines for bass and one that shines for guitar?
With bass, I go back and forth, like depending on the song. Some songs call for pick attack, you know, some songs should be nicely, you know, with fingering and, you know, I think it's just a nice smoother. It just depends on the mood. Sometimes I start a song with a pick and drop it midway and, you know, pick it up at the end again. I don't know. It just depends on what I feel that song needs attack wise. And then guitar, that also depends on what I'm playing. If I'm playing kind of like chunkier things, I might go with the Dunlop, you know, nylon 1mm or something that feels good. But then if I'm doing a lot of like tremolo little, you know, I might go with something lighter. It all depends. And sometimes I get hooked on a pick and like, I'm like, this is it. This is the one. And then you'll hand me something. I'm like, oh, this is the new one that I like. This is my new favorite. So I have a whole bunch of different ones. And it just, some days feel better than others. And I have nerve damage in my hands from my early years as a musician on a violin. So I have a hard time with tactile. I have a loss of feeling in my fingertips.
Oh wow.
So that also having a pick that has some grip to it also helps me, whereas a smoother pick I just might completely just lose it without and not know if they're like, ow.
Well, which ones are you toting around with you right now? Can you show us a couple that you have there?
Sure. I got let's see here. I got the Jim Dunlop is 1mm USA nylon there.
Oh yeah. That's a favorite from Frederick's as well. I know that.
I love that. I got the Flow, the Jumbo Flow is ridiculous.
Oh, is that the 420?
Yeah, it is. It's huge, which is fun.
Yeah, I wasn't the one that gave you that. I'm sure of it.
No. And I got this, the Animals as Leaders little custom little cutie pointy one.
Yeah. I like that.
And little Per Nilsson's one when I want to feel fancy.
Oh, Per. I love him.
Per Nilsson's custom. Got a cute one from Dark Glass. It's just the Tortex. And I love this
company.
Dunlop Ultex 73. I don't know why, but I lose it all the time because they're see-through.
That's a classic.
And yeah, that's a classic. Those are kind of my fan. I have this little Jazz 3. This little tiny cutie one is fun for tremolo picking exercises. Yeah. And the rest, you know, the standard, how did I get these picks? Like this gigantic Meshuggah pick.
Yeah.
I think I know how I got this one.
That's got to be Dick's, right?
Yeah, I stole it probably. I borrowed it.
Yeah. I'm going to borrow this. I'll bring it right
I'll
back.
bring it back. It's, picks are like lighters, you know that. You have no
Yep.
idea how you end up. And I got these James Hetfield, Black Fang Ultex 73.
Yeah. I'm a
Yeah,
fan.
yeah. Ooh, yeah.
That was my pick for a while.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, but sometimes I go with something a little harder, a little softer. Sometimes I like the grip, sometimes I don't. It really just depends. I think as a player, you should be kind of flexible,
So you're saying you're not stuck?
Patoochie? Is the
Patoochie?
Patoochie.
JP.
Patoochie. The JP. I like it. I just pretend that it's my initials.
No,
But,
it's perfect.
it's my initials.
This is my custom pick right here. It has my initials on it.
My custom pick. I can't play with it for shit, but it's mine. I lose that one all the time. I drop that one a lot. And that's the rest. They're pretty much the same. The same.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah. Oh, wait. What is this? Is that Players Pick Podcast?
Oh, yeah. That must be the best one of all.
That's the best one. It's so good. I never use it. I just save it.
Oh, you just look at it and go, oh, that's my buddy.
That's my buddy. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you. It's really beautiful to see how everything is unfolded for you in all these different ways since we met eons ago now.
Very long time ago. I was just trying to figure out like what year that was. I just remember it was a Sunday at NAM and you were NAM'd out. You were not having it.
No, I was not having it at all, dude. I was so done.
I was like, hi. You're like, you were so done.
Dude, that was my fault. I was out all night the night before. I probably slept an hour and a half or something. It was like, because that was Sunday morning. You showed up.
Sunday's the worst. Sunday's the worst at NAM. Like everyone is done. Everybody hates music. It's like being trapped in a Guitar Center for a month.
Yeah.
And it's also just the overstimulation of, sometimes it's good. You just get to see but you're just seeing everyone at once. And it's just constant noise and constant, where are you? 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 It's overwhelming. And also the things that you want to check out, I kind of make a map of like what I want to see. And after that, when I hit a wall, I'm out. That's it. I don't try to, soldier through anymore.
No, it's good. It's good. I mean, well, in the early days, we did that though. Like it was one of those things where I remember the first few years, it was like real easy to be like, I'm doing all this after I get done working 8 hours on the floor. I'm going to go to this concert. I'm going to have dinner with these people. I'm going to drink until 3 a.m. Yeah.
We do not do that anymore.
No.
We wake up at the crack of 1.
That's right.
Make our appointments right away. Be like, who am I seeing today? I'm seeing Chris, John, and Bob. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to the hotel. That's right. And that's that. We're done. That's it. Not trying to, or you'll make an appointment like, okay, I need to see Korg. Like Korg is one of my endorsements I have, and I make a real point to try out all their new stuff because they always have something that is always mind-blowing. So you have to go to Korg, have to go to Gibson, have to go to Spectre, you have to go to Dark Glass. These are like the must do. And then 100%. Everything else after that is gravy if you have it in you. But I mean, I feel bad. Like sometimes, like I stopped by you and I was like I was at the wall. Like someone's like hands you something. Says like, here, try this out. You're like, nope.
You're like, nope.
Nope, I can't. Please, check out this amp. Nope. Check out this guitar. Nope. Not going to do it. Don't feel like it. Don't want to. I'm done.
Yeah, you don't want me to check it out when I'm tired and done. Like you don't want me to do
that. I'm tired. I'm not going to like it. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I already don't like it.
Someone handed me a guitar and they're like, you want to try it? I was like, it's ugly. I couldn't even. I just didn't even like the way the guitar looked. Like, it's gross. I'm not even going to touch that guitar. But then I did see an awesome guitar that like folds up and you fit it in a suitcase and it's nuts.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
Great, cool stuff there.
Yeah, NAMM's great for the the new stuff you haven't seen before, and it is good to see a handful of people. But like, and it's great in theory. But then, X amount of people are bound to get sick every year, and X amount of people. Yeah, I mean, Namthrax, they took it up a notch this year. Almost feel like, was Nam
I
actually
think
ground zero for this whole thing?
I really seriously think that we already had it, because I remember coming back. I stayed in LA for about a week after Nam, and I remember not being able to get out of bed for like 2 weeks. I was like dead. I couldn't even get from the bedroom to the bathroom without like a pep talk. So maybe I did have something,
Yeah.
right after that. Because, I mean, we have people coming around from all over the world. Everyone is in close quarters, breathing the same air. And it hit me like in one booth when I saw just a snotty little kid had put his hands all over everything. And I was like having a good old time playing on some keyboards, and this kid just does one of these, and it like really just hit me that moment. Like, this kid touched all this shit, and I'm like, what? Like, totally hit me at that moment. And then getting sick a week later, and being like so exhausted and muscle aches. And I even remember posting on Facebook, like, is it normal to feel your spinal fluid? It felt like I could feel the inside of my spine. Something was terribly off.
It makes me cringe. Ugh.
Yeah, I think that we might have had a few of those coronas running around.
A few, I think. Well, and they're saying that they're pretty sure that it was running around through the states in January now.
In January, yeah, I just saw that on the news, and it doesn't surprise me at all, because how would you know what you have?
Right.
It doesn't have any like specific symptoms that belong only to it. It doesn't have like measles or chicken pox that it's like a definite outward symptom. It could be, and it's showing up in so many different ways. It's in different people, presents differently. So I'm pretty sure I did have it, like, to be honest. But I'm not gonna take the risk of, if I didn't, going out into the world and asking for it either.
No need to make things worse if you don't need to.
No, but I mean, I've already known several people who had it, have had it, are having it currently, and everyone is their stories are completely different.
Yeah, what a strange bug, what a strange thing, because like you said, there's a surprising amount of normalcy inside our like emergency. We're just like and like even more so kind of where you're at, but like here it's just such confusing instructions too on how to handle, how to react, how to maintain yourself. Like, you should stay inside, except for the fact that when you need to go outside. If you need to go outside, it's okay if you have a reason to go outside, but if you don't, stay inside.
Go outside.
Don't go outside. It's like, oh God, I'm so done with all of that.
You have to use common sense and remember that your actions can have the ability to affect someone else's life. The end. Act as if you have it and you're asymptomatic, and don't be a maroon. Be an asshole.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Take it easy. And I know it's different for everybody, but yeah, that's the basics. That's the general of it. Like, you can get through if you just act like you have it.
Act like you have it. Act like, like lava, like the lava game they used to play when you're a kid. Act like everything is lava. Everything has it. All right. So just don't be stupid about it. When you you get your groceries, wash them in the sink, wash your hands, wash your face,
Yep.
Use your sleeve to open stuff. Come on, man. You know this. You know these things.
Well, I love that you're like one of the things that we share is that we share kind of like similar Buddhist principles in life. And I was curious if you wanted to share, if you could share anything that you're using right now to kind of like keep yourself calm. Like, is it yoga, or is there any workout? So you mentioned kettlebells, and like, what's keeping you like in kind of some sort of balance point now that you're.
For me, my life hasn't changed that much. The thing that I worry about now is just that being an actor, you have your auditions and you have the projects in the horizon, so on and so forth. And all that stuff is canceled now, or has moved over about 4 to 6 months. So if I had something that was going to shoot 6 months from now, that means a year from now. So now I'm like, that's the hardest thing to kind of like worry about right now. but we're all in the same boat situation. So I'm not alone. I'm not special. This is not it's not only me. It's not woe is me either. People have it a lot worse. I feel very fortunate that I'm not, hurting for money. I have rainy day money, and I have projects that I can still do. I have music projects that I can still do. I'm working. We're just finished mixing some new Alekhine's gun. I'm about to go record some new Brujeria, and working on some new Black Heart Sutra. So that's all fun.
Amazing.
Since we're here, since we have this opportunity now, because you're always like too busy to do stuff. Now it's like, oh, are you still too busy? Right. And also, doing interviews like this one is nice to touch base with everyone, and talking to some kids online, and doing some meditations with my own personal group Sangha. We're currently doing a meditation with based on one of the 21 taras, the tara of with the it's like a healing tara, and her visualization is quite lovely. She has a beautiful mantra as well, and the visualization is like she has one of her eyes is the sun, and one of her eyes is the moon, and out of the sun comes these orange rays all over it, killing like all viruses and killing all pain and suffering, and like a zapping, like an atomic zapping, getting rid of all that. And then the white moon, the white light, is healing you, healing everyone around you, healing the world, kind of. So it's a nice visualization. It's a little complex, so it's good to keep the brain moving.
Give it a project, right?
Give it a little project to take care of. But I mean, usually I have my daily practice that I do every morning, noon, and night throughout the day. It never stops. This is also a good time to reflect on death and the dying process. I've been reading this book, How to Enjoy Death.
Wow.
By Lama Zopa Rinpoche. This is an actual, this is a manual for Tibetan Buddhists, and explaining the rituals that are done at the time of death, just before, as someone is dying, what happens to the mind, what happens to the consciousness of the dying person, what you'll see, what you'll feel, what you'll experience, so on and so forth, and then how to deal with the remains of the dying person, and the ceremony and the ritual and the prayers inside as well. It's a really, really awesome book. And it's, if you think about death regularly, you're less afraid of it, and you'll probably be smarter in life of how you handle things.
So that book that you're reading now is kind of like a teacher's handbook, so to speak, for the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or is it approximated? Or is it?
The Tibetan Book of the Dead is something that's read. It's called Liberation Through Hearing, and that's the book that is read to a person as they're dying, as they're sick and they're dying. Because you've heard so many times that people say, I see a white light, or I saw this, I saw that, I felt cold. So there is something that's happening, whether you want to say it's your spirit leaving the body, if you want to say that it's an actual realm that you go to, or if it's just your brain cells dying, this, that, and the other thing. You can, however you feel comfortable in your life where you are with that explanation. So that book is read to a dying person, or a person that is dead, so that they don't freak out about what they're seeing or experiencing. This is kind of more for you. In the beginning, it's what you're going to see in a less poetic way, or what you're going to feel, or how it is acknowledged that the dying process happens in the body. If you're dying a calm death, not like you're like suddenly ejected out of a plane or something like that, or
right,
or shot in the head suddenly, but there's still consciousness in the body until there isn't.
Okay.
We believe that you'll still be there for a minute before you actually leave. And I think we've seen enough movies and shows and ghosts and that, and you see people that say they've looked down on their body, and so this is kind of like that in between process, the first part of the book, and then later you have the actual Tibetan ritual of how to do a funeral puja. Puja is ceremony. How to do a funeral puja, depending on on your level of commitment. There's long ones, short ones, medium ones, and culturally how much exposure you have to the remains as well.
It's incredible the insight that the Tibetan Buddhism has in this realm. I don't know. I know that other, I think, ancient Egyptians and a few other cultures have had like some like manuals for the dead and the dying, so to speak. But from what I can tell or what I know, it seems like the Tibetan Buddhists seem to have surveyed it and mapped it out more extensively than any other.
I think so. I think it's also partially because of a lot of the meditations that deal with the channels and winds. You kind of create or recreate similar effects of dying sometimes. When you move channels, winds, and energy into certain areas of your body, for example, you're able to slow your heart. You're able to raise and lower your body temperature. You can see things, that are with your eyes closed, so on. You can travel, you can talk to each other, you can meet, you can hang out, all that stuff.
So you're saying we could have did this just by meditating.
Astral, baby. Some astral projection. Next time we'll work on it. We'll set a time. Meet up.
I'll meet you in the ethers.
I had a very intense experience when I was younger. I think, how old was I? Don't remember. It was 2004 when my teacher passed away. And I knew because he sent me a message I looked out my window one day and I was in Florida. I had just been with him the week before, and the week before that, I was doing a play in Florida. And every year he would give us an initiation and a secret teaching. And that year he said that he wasn't going to do it. Usually he'd say at the end of the teaching, give me my calendar. And we kind of like, oh, damn, there goes our summer, and he would say, okay, this day, this day, this day, this day, this day, and this every Saturday, every nice Saturday in July. You're going to be here in Temple. You're going to be studying. And that one year he said, okay, bye, at the end of the teaching. Like, I have a lot of work to do. Bye. And we're like, what, aren't you going to teach us? And he's like, no, I am done. I have a lot of work to do. I'm getting ready to go because this is my 25th anniversary. I've been here 5 years too long, or 20 years too long. So he said something like along the lines, I was only supposed to be here 5 years. I've been here 25 to, 20 years too long. So it's time to go. And we asked him, please teach. And he's like, all right, fine, bring me my calendar. We're like, yay. And he's like, maybe I will teach next week, maybe not. And he just gave it back to the nun next to him. And we all knew like something was up then. So I was able to do the play. I flew back to Florida. And one day I'm just doing dishes, having my morning breakfast, oatmeal. And I see this murder of crows outside, and they're just silent. They're just staring at me. It's like they were just like with this intense attitude, like just looking at me. Weren't moving, weren't crying, nothing. They'd never been there before. And we know that when we see certain birds or certain signs like crows and blue jays, that has something to do for us, my family, so to speak, has to do with the temple. So I called temple, and my friend Maria answers the phone. She goes, Jessica, he was just asking about you. I was like, oh, I got the message loud and clear. Like, he's like, how did you know? I was like, oh, he sent the message. I heard it. He wants to know when you're going to be back from the play. And I told him the day. And he waited for me because he wanted to have his close students there. And he like waited to die. And he kind of like pushed it, held on to it. And when it was time for him to go, when he was ready, he went into a solitary retreat. He still has his attendant there that would take care of him as per usual, cook his meals and anything that he needed. But he went into a heavy retreat, which is a solitary retreat. Lay rooms are pretty intense. You're basically doing your practice 20 hours a day. You get about 4 hours off a day.
Wow.
So they're really super intense and very productive. And then when he felt like he was about to leave his body, because part of some of the secret rituals are practicing how to die. You know, you go through the motions of what will happen. Like my breath will feel like this, my body will get cold, my vision will do this, my hearing will do that. So you kind of like talk yourself through it. And when he was feeling that it was actually happening, called his attendant. He said, you know, there's a letter in that drawer. It's time for me to go. See you later. And he passed that day, that night. And for 7 days, he showed no signs of death, no outward signs of death. So we would practice in his room with the body, and he was like glowing. It was the strangest thing. And I remember turning to my meditation teacher, and I said, the flowers are so beautiful, smell so beautiful in here. And he looks at me, he's like, Jess, there are no flowers in this room. It's him. It's like, and it's also said in, you know, Catholicism, you know, when saints die, their bodies emit this scent of flowers. And I looked around, and there were no flowers. There was nothing. There was like nothing around, no incense burning, no flowers in the room. And it was just him. And he looked better than he had looked since I've known him. He was like glowing, like a youthful, childlike glow, and so calm and peaceful. Nothing decrepit, nothing like rigor mortis, nothing sunken. I mean, it looked alive and healthy and happy. And then when it was time, then it was like quickly. And that was 7 days in that room with him. So we practiced at his feet for 7 days.
Wow. What an incredible story. And I got bumps there, like you were telling me about the flowers and the scent. And because I've read a lot of stories that talk about yogis and like, you know, high-end masters that have some dominion over the death and dying process due to the high level of meditation and awareness and consciousness that they've been able to kind of really see and feel and experience the body on a microscopic and molecular level, and the consciousness can retain dominion over the flesh for days after. But I've never known anybody that has experienced that firsthand. It's always been like a third hand, or, you know, a story written in a novel or something.
Oh, it was absolute first hand seeing with my own two eyes, you know, and experiencing so many things after. I mean, being in my own retreats, and I remember just, you know, having questions that I couldn't ask him because I was in retreat, and he would come in a dream. Whether that's my mind just remembering something he already told me or him actually doing it, doesn't matter to me. The fact that connection was so strong that he would, you know. But then when I'd say, you know, so funny, you came to me in a dream and you explained, you know, north, south, east, west. He goes, oh, good, you remembered. You know, like, yeah, oh, you remembered it now. So now do you know? Like, before I'd even say what it was, he's like, yeah, north, south, east, west, or whatever, what I was about to say. You know, he was the, there's no doubt in my mind that we are capable of doing magical things that we are not even aware of with our body, speech, mind, energy. So because of my own personal firsthand experience.
And I'm not really clear on how you got drawn into this and what age, because it seems like you got drawn into this practice early on. And was it somebody that presented it to you, or did you kind of have some sort of calling that kind of brought you in? And
well, I mean, I'd always meditated as a kid, because my mom was a psychologist. So when she was in school, you know, she was in college. My mom was, you know, young mom. She was in college studying psychology, and they used a lot of relaxation techniques, you know. So that was always part of like, oh, look, I just learned this new one. And she would walk me through it. Your right foot feels heavy and warm. You know, like I remember, you know, we had all these guided meditation cassettes and stuff, and we would all do it together. It'd be like so relaxing. It was really nice, super nice. So I already started like doing practices like that at an early age. And my mom also was a martial artist as well. So we would do things like that together. Also music, meditation, concentration, focus, those things all go hand in hand. As far as being drawn specifically to Buddhism, you know, I was always drawn to that eternal knot, which is my one and only tattoo there.
Yeah.
I saw it in a magazine. I cut it out when I was like like 7 years old or something like that. And I kept it. And later when I got older, I would draw it on myself. And I thought it looked cool. It would be a cool tattoo, you know. When I got older, man, you know. But I went on a kind of spiritual quest at around 12, 13 years old, trying to figure out where I belonged, what I believed. I grew up in a very strong Christian household. It was a lovely, happy Christian household, but some things just didn't make sense to me. Like all Jesus stuff and his teachings and everything he taught made total sense to me, but Christians around me did not make sense to me. And there were not enough answers besides, you know, God said so. So that also didn't fly with me too much. So I went through like the whole, you know, like, well, God doesn't want me, you know, I'd be like, God, I'm sad, kill me. And when I count to 3, and that didn't work. So, you know, like, you're like be depressed, like God doesn't exist. God is not real. You know, this is not real. That's not real. And then, but that's just like angst or maybe just growing pains type things. And no one would give you a straight answer. So I wanted to rebel and go to the dark side. I'm like, this is garbage too. These people are garbage. This is all bullshit. And then I started just going back to like ancestral roots. And my mom had a book, Religions of the World. You know, it was great. So we had the Judeo-Christian religions first. We had Christianity, Jesus. I thought I was good with Jesus. Started reading about Kabbalah and secret teachings of that. A lot of that really intrigued me, was awesome. A lot of secret teachings and a lot of secret in many different religions make sense, you know, to me. They kind of all align. I think the truth is the truth once you get there. But then the next chapter was like animism, which is Native American. My family's part Native American. That's part of our everyday lives, you know, like certain beliefs, certain superstitions, certain medicinal things that we would use for medicine, you know, certain herbs, certain cooking, folklore. That was kind of always in me. So I did explore that a lot, went to a lot of powwows, learned how to dance traditional dances, learned how to sing traditional songs. But then I still felt like there was more. And then getting into hardcore music around 13, 14, going to these shows, there was a lot of Krishna consciousness was really, really prevalent in like Cro-Mags, 108 and Shelter. You got those bands that were really pushing that. And although I did agree with some of it, it didn't quite click with me. Some of it clicked, not all of it. A lot of the karma aspect of it really did click for me. And the collective, you know, interdependence things did click for me. But then I got to Lao Tzu and Taoism. And that was like the most Vulcan, the most like question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. Everything was so logical. It was like all the emotion was gone. All the oogity boogity superstition shit was gone. It was like so analytical, scientific that it made perfect sense to me. And I devoured Tao Te Ching. I had like 3 or 4 copies in my bag at all times because different translations kind of hit differently. And I remember in high school having to read Siddhartha, and I compared the entire book of Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, which is the story of based on Gautama Buddha, the Buddha of this planet, one of the Buddhas of this planet. I compared the whole book to Tao Te Ching, like not even reading the story for the story. I was like, well, I'm a Taoist, so everything has to revolve around my beliefs. You know, very teenager. And my teacher, Mr. Morgenstern, wrote, you know, I really think you should check out Buddhism. I think you'd really like it. And I was like, I'm a Taoist. I don't think so. I already found the answer. Okay. And like I said, my mom had that Religions of the World from her college class. And the next, you know, chapter was Buddhism. And the first thing you see is the emaciated Buddha with like the ribs sticking out and his face is hollow and the eyes are sunken in. And I was like, oh no, this is not for me. I don't want to starve. What kind of shit is this? This is some stupid shit. And then some of it, I'm reading through it, you know, some of it is like Taoism. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And then but then I saw there were different sects, different types of Buddhism, and you know, like that's pretty cool. Well, this is kind of too like organized religion. This is, I'm not feeling it. This I like a lot. This I don't like. But then I got to one subject called the the chain of dependent origination, basically the 12 steps of why you suffer. And it was so perfectly laid out, and it made so much sense to me that I just wept. And I said, wow, this is the answer. Like, that is exactly the reason why you have pain in your life. And it explained pain in a paragraph this big. And I knew, like, from that point on, I had to find a teacher and learn this shit and figure it out. Because I was, a depressed kid, depressed teenager, angry, depressed teenager. And I think some of it may be genetic, some of it may be a learned behavior, some of it may be environmental. But I was a sad kid. I wasn't like a happy-go-lucky, like whatever. And that's from when I was really little. But then I found this answer right here. Well, not the answer, not the solution, but the reason of why you feel sad. Why do you feel pain? So you cause your own pain in one way or another, and if you are able to cause it, that means you're also able to end it. Right
on. Yeah. So you found something that just like clicked, because you had been on this search, and I love hearing that process, because I feel very similar in the way, because I was raised Christian, not super strict Christian, but in the same way that you said, I'm not so sure about the Jesus stuff. Yeah, I get that, but
me and Jesus were like this. We're like best friends. Absolutely.
Like, super cool. I get it, and I love the teachings, but I would look around at the Christians around me, and I'm like, okay, there's like 2 out of 50 that are trying to really do this thing. And it's I don't not a full on judgment of everybody, because I think that the modern way of Christianity has been handed down in this watered down way, and so there's X amount of the majority of people that are following it in a lot of ways aren't really tied in or called in the same way, because they're not super seekers. They're just like, oh, you got an answer? Cool. All right. Like, I'll be in the club that has an answer, and I don't have to think anymore. Yeah. Whereas when you're a true seeker and you find yourself kind of not so easily pacified with kind of surface answers around, oh no, because God says so. Oh, because
like, where, how, when?
Where? Yeah, and the big thing for me, I thought, it seems like for you a little bit too, is that I felt like mainstream Christianity lacked a practice or a process, like that's clear. Like, whereas yoga and Buddhism and they have multiple processes that are pretty clear, and you can interpret them how you want because of your own personal scenario. But as you're describing, there are very clear outlines of like, okay, look, suffering is inevitable, and this is these are the conditions under which we suffer, and then these are the conditions under which we release ourselves from suffering. And I was like, okay,
can do that. Can
work on that. That's a lifelong project, but there's immediate results through the simplest of processes that are offered. Just learning to sit in the most basic meditation, I was like, oh, like I feel better. I feel more centered. Hasn't changed externally, but my internal way of feeling in relationship to the external world has now shifted.
Because it is perception.
100%.
Your surroundings are your perception. So once you change your mind, you change the world around you. Period. 2 people walking down the street the same day. One person says it's a beautiful day, another person says it's a garbage day. What's the difference? Their brain, their mind, their outlook. So I mean, that's coming very, very, very much in handy during these certain times, of course. So if you can change your mind to maybe not think so much about yourself, but think about the suffering of others, of all the suffering that people are going through, then you're not going to feel so bad, And that's a very huge part of Tibetan Buddhism is focusing on others, not just yourself. Because a lot of times it's like not being able to see the forest for the trees, when you're just like this, so focused on yourself, you can't figure a way out. But if you focus on someone else's, but we always have answers for our friends, don't we? Right? You know, and then you look at your own life, and you're like, garbage. But once you start thinking about others and their safety and their problems, what they're going through, your own panic about your selfish nature, your selfish monster diminishes, and then you will see solutions. Because that selfish monster is the one that is like panicking with their hair on fire and can't figure out how to unlock a door to get out of the room, you know. But when you get rid of that self-cherishing self, then everything kind of just evens out. No big deal. Something works, great. Doesn't work, fine. Money coming in today, okay. Not coming in today, fine. We'll figure it out. You'll figure things out much more clearly when your ever-present self-cherishing I is not the focus of your day-to-day, moment-to-moment actions.
Great advice. I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, I could push a little further into my own practice, and I find, well, it's funny because speaking as somebody that does have a regular practice, both physical and spiritual, but also still experiences swings of experience, right? Like the first week or so of this thing, the COVID, the kind of the quarantine stuff, I was like, first couple days I was really good. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just like go into this with I've been preparing for this. No problem. I got this. I'm gonna focus on others. I'm gonna do this thing. And then it was like 4 or 5 days in. I was like, oh, I got some extra news of life this, life that, financial this, financial that. And I was like, yeah, I feel horrible. And I had to, it's like I had to go back and re-experience the depths of my own despair so that I could, climb back out again. And I think like that,
oh, shit's getting real now kind of feeling. Of course.
Yeah. In different phases. And so I guess there's a part of my practice and a part of what has been exposed to me is the speeding up of the cycle. Like when we're left alone like this, oftentimes you feel like time moves a little bit slower if you don't have as much to do, or if you're depending on your situation.
Thank God. Usually I wake up and the day is gone in a second. Now you're like,
yeah,
I can get so much done now.
Correct.
I'm seeing this as a positive.
I am too. Ultimately, I am seeing it mostly positive for myself and a lot of those around me because of that exactly. But just having to kind of remember that it all moves in cycles, and that I'm not, even with a great practice, even with all the tools in my tool belt and my superhero thing I can clasp on and go and move into the world, into relationship with, I still am going to cycle back through and experience the full range of light and dark and everything in between. And it's about how we continually orient ourselves towards the things that aren't as pleasant, that allow us to kind of move through them with grace.
Well, that's the sickness of samsara. It's like we're like hardwired to go towards things that are bad for us in general. To do the right thing seems to be the most difficult, and it's like just keeps bringing your own suffering. So you really do have to practice, at changing that in your system, your animal nature, kind of, so to speak.
Yeah, and intellectual exercises of conversating about it are good, but oftentimes don't quite equate to the actuality of a practice and practicing the thing in the moment. Like it's one thing to intellectually conversate and be like, yeah, totally, I get it. Next time I'm going to do that. And then like the thing shows up and you're like, whoa, I know better than this, but I did that anyway. Like how?
But I did it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. You're still human,
Acceptance.
You have to, and then try not to do it again.
Yes.
At least give yourself at the very least, my teacher would say, at least give yourself a time period that you're like, for 1 hour or a day or a week, I'm not going to break this vow or that vow, or because you also have to know your limits. You can't just walk into the gym and lift 500 pounds deadlift, your first day. Like me trying to swing my OG kettlebell today. Like I hadn't swung it in 2 months. So slow down. Like, slow down, bitch.
Yeah.
The same thing. It's a practice, and things do get easier with practice. But like all things, you have to maintain it, and you have to be committed to it. And it's not easy in the beginning, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more weight you can lift, so on and so forth. The stronger you become, and you begin to change. And eventually, those changes do become permanent. We might have our bad days and good days, of course. While you're on planet Earth, you're gonna have bad days and good days, but things do become permanent changes in you eventually. I feel from my own experience. I mean, I've been doing this, I would say, 25 years at this point. So I can see a definite difference in my mind, the way I react to things back then to now. I mean, some of that comes with age and maturity, but just internally, there's things that I don't feel anymore the way I used to. So, which is a comfort. My emotions don't derail me anymore, which is nice. It's a nice place to be.
That's a good point. I will attest to that too. I mean, I remember being a very illogically mad young person. Like it seemed illogical because I wasn't in touch with all the factors that were enraging me, and I hadn't dealt with my being upset about home life and how the parental unit was operating. I hadn't come to terms with all that, but through a lot of thankfully coming in contact with a really great Buddhist counselor when I was in Seattle for many years, and just the incremental steps of doing going to Vipassana and working out like 10 days, being silent for 10 days changed everything too. Like that turned my whole life on its head. And even though I could still feel systemic little bits and pieces that are still left in me, ultimately,
of course,
I'm lifetimes better now than I ever was, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. So I'm thankful for that.
Glad I met you now.
I know, right? Because we just would have maybe went at it back in the day.
Went right at it. Smack 'em.
So I guess I know that you have everything kind of on hold at the moment, like as far as the acting and everything, but
everything is on hold. And I had when you get those projects, like a dream project, this is a make or break project. I had one of those coming up, and no, I don't. Well, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. So, but I just got to keep going. I'm sorry, and I interrupted your question.
Oh, no, it's good. I was just going to ask if there's anything you can share about any upcoming projects or any collaborations that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, I mentioned the music stuff. New Alekhine's Gun coming out soon. New Brujeria. I don't know when that's coming out. And working on some new music with Black Heart Sutra. There's also Gimme Radio, our radio station that we have. I'd love to have you on there sometime. Awesome. My shows every Wednesday. We have Dave Mustaine, Randy Blythe, Johan Haig just came back on from Amon Amarth. He just came back on for a little bit, and his wife Maria Haig is also doing a show. I mean, we have Ross the Boss and Will Carroll, and I mean, we got a whole great lineup of different DJs, different styles of metal. 24/7. It's free. But should you choose to become a member, then you can listen to whatever show you want, whenever you want, download it, work out to it. My show's really great for workouts, by the way.
And what's the name of your show?
My show's Crushing Metal on Wednesdays, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern.
Of course it's Crushing Metal, because you're the crusher.
Crushing Metal, the crusher.
Yeah.
And I have a film that it was set to be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival, but that was canceled. But but I think Tribeca Film Festival is just kind of moving it. So we're still doing press for it. It's called Gets Good Light. It's a short film by Alejandra Parodi, who has received several awards with her work. She's up and coming filmmaker, really awesome. It was like a project I had to do type. And it basically tells the story of a couple. One is an illegal immigrant and how they navigate avoiding getting caught and deported by spending their nights in a high-rise apartment, like a showroom apartment kind of situation. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, just the juxtaposition of the really wealthy people coming in to look at these $3 million apartments and the family that hides there at night. So it was pretty cool story. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
And tell us the name of that movie again.
It's called Gets Good Light.
Okay. Cool. We'll look out for that. So hopefully a little later this year, we'll see.
Hopefully
something.
A little later this year. Yeah. When Tribeca Film Festival feels ready to open it, then the other film festivals will come through. Then there'll be another one. There's another one coming out, but I can't talk about that one yet.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's good. You got to space it out now that we're all on hold. Got to space out the tidbits,
100%. Yep. I totally understand. Well then the other thing I'm interested in, and I mean, since you're obviously running a radio show too, but you've been listening to some music and playing music for people. But I'm curious, like what has been on your radar lately as far as listening, or is there any artist or band that you might just feel like, oh man, not enough people know about these people or this person that we might be able to shout out?
The thing that I'm listening to the most right now is not even metal. It's Dark Sky Burial. It's Shade Embry's new electronic project. Cool. It's really exactly the way my head feels right now. It's like I can just zone out to it, get work done. It's really awesome. It's not metal at all. So sometimes I feel like when you're playing metal and you do a metal radio show and you only see people at metal shows, like you need a fucking break from that, because then you can't appreciate it anymore. It just all starts to sound the same kind of thing. So yeah, that is what I've been basically grooving on. That, a lot of Röyksopp, like Norwegian pop techno.
Yeah. That's great. I identify with that a lot because I work with a lot of the metal guys, and I love metal, but it's also, as a genre, as you get older and you get a little bit like more about the world a little bit, you're like, you keep doing your meditation, you're like, you're not as mad anymore. You're like, I only identify with that X amount of the time,
Right.
Even though I still
exactly.
love it.
No, I still love it, absolutely. But sometimes the ears do need a rest. But I mean, having the privilege of hearing some up and coming new Meshuggah that's happening, which is pretty exciting. And of course, Black Heart Sutra, which is a challenge. Like the first thing I did with them took me 6 months to write lyrics because I had no idea where the fuck I was supposed to put words in this kind of like jazz monster, like super noisy. It was like totally out of my wheelhouse. So now I really, really appreciate working with them because it's always a challenge.
But that sounds, Black Heart Sutra, it seems to be like I'm interested to see what you do next with them, because I think that it's a weird, like weirdly perfect for you. Like it's kind of got a lot of the same, the contrasting elements that you kind of hold near and dear to.
Alekhine's Gun and Black Heart Sutra, both of the lyrics, all the lyrics I write for those projects always tend to be based based around Tibetan Buddhist practices. So for example, like Alekhine's Gun, Crown of Knives is based on a work called Sonchakorlo, Wheel of Sharp Weapons, how your karma comes back on you. So basically, like it's like whenever you do certain bad deeds, it's like you're putting on this crown that kind of has like blades going this way and this way. It's described really awesomely. So the Wheel of Sharp Weapons, and you kind of just destroying yourself things like that. And there's praises to Padan Lamo, there's praises to Vajrapani. We just did one that's praise to the 21 Taras, but it's very, very brutal. It's not like we're used to hearing like, you know, it's not that at all. It's more focused on the more wrathful emanations of Tara, and how Tara is like, you know, a female, the feminist, you know, she's like your mom, she's powerful, she's strong, she can handle it, and hopefully you hope to get those qualities in yourself, you know. So it's like ultimate empowerment kind of song.
That's
and
awesome.
Other songs that we're releasing deal with Tonglen meditation, the meditation of taking and giving, which is, I'm finding that very useful right now, given an epidemic that involves, for most people, problems with breathing. I feel that that's really, really helpful mentally for me to kind of focus on that area of suffering. And if the very least thing I can do is send positive wishes with the breath, I'm accomplishing that through Tonglen, especially for someone who can't breathe. I mean, that really sucks.
Yeah, you have some respiratory issues yourself?
Oh, no, I'm just saying when I'm thinking of someone who is right now suffering and scared and pain and they can't breathe, and the practice is done on the breath. The breath is taking up their suffering, eliminating it, and sending what you believe they need, or what they do actually need, and believing that is helping them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've heard Bob Thurman talk a little bit about maybe, I think it's the same, you said Tonglen? Yeah, where it's breathing in the suffering and the blackness, the darkness of the world, and envisioning yourself as the transmutation point, where and then you're cleansing it.
You eradicate it, destroy it, gone. Yeah, cleanse it, eradicate it, and then you give back what is the remedy, the solution, the remedy, the medicine that is needed from what you've just absorbed. Then you give the medicine back.
Powerful.
Yeah. Very helpful. Very helpful.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You can do it on yourself too.
Yeah, well,
you just reverse it.
Okay, so you take it, you're all encompassed, like when you do it for yourself, then you're self-contained in that way, like that you take in the negative qualities that you're experiencing and try to breathe that in.
You can do it reverse. You get rid of the negative qualities out of your breath, and we can do this. I know you said you wanted to do your yoga class. We can do this in your class if you want.
Okay.
I like to do it starting with 9-round breath, which is a breath that you kind of focus on different channels in the body. Start one side of the body, left side of the body, doesn't matter. But with this, you feel the quality that you are experiencing, whether it's fear, anger, pain, suffering, loneliness. You kind of work on what does it feel like. You give it a quality. Is it hot? Is it itchy? Is it smoky? Is it dark? Is it heavy? Really focus on that, like the quality of that feeling, and blow it out. So you will do it like out through the nose. Sometimes you can picture smoke. Sometimes you can picture black light, if you can see that, if you can imagine that. Some people use scorpions and snakes and just like gross shit. Or you can picture tar leaving your body. You just have it leaving your body, and then you counterbalance whatever you just described as what you were feeling. Like if it was hot and itchy, so you breathe in like light, a cool light, you know, or white light. You can do black smoke, white light. Usually is the easiest. But if you're feeling lonely, you can breathe in love, if that makes sense. This is all, abstract. There's no right or wrong way to visualize love or happiness or peace. Or if colors, smoke and white light and black smoke usually work great for everyone. But you might want to think about, breathing in love, or breathing in comfort, or breathing in, if you're worried about money, breathing in the how do you feel, the calmness of being stable, when you have money in your pocket. So when you feel that way, you start to think differently, you act differently, and act as if you have it for real. You know, you act as if you have a sickness. If you are sick, you focus on that area of your sickness. So you visualize it leaving the body, and then you're providing your health in return.
I love that. I mean, so much of when we're very, very clear at this point, I think, in our humanity that, as we've been kind of discussing and talking around, that you create your own reality. And so that, and how you see the world and how you see yourself is creating your scenario, your karmic scenario in real time. And so this practice that you're describing, it seems very, very helpful in so many ways, because if I can just mentally work with letting go, if I can let go of it mentally, then I can eventually let go of it, like in actuality, let the muscles relax, let the breath settle and be slow and steady, versus that kind of anxietous, like, fast and shallow breath. And
Right.
so what you're
and it's focused. Yeah, and it's focused, and it's also wonderful because you can use it all day long, all day, all night. Every time you see someone, you're now using your breath as like a positive karma machine. You know, you completely change your mind so that you're constantly, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you're creating positive karma by every person you walk past. You take that breath in, take away whatever pain they might have that they don't even know they have, or you don't even know they have, and just visualize that white light, like every person you pass, every person you meet, and you meet so many people. You just, as you're talking, you can just picture it as it's happening. No one has to know that you're doing it. It's totally secret, totally private. You don't have to sit like really cool. You don't have to like have a whole like thing. You don't need beads. You don't need anything. You just need a conscious awareness that you, just by existing, can make the world a better place by kind of changing that energy. And you're thinking of others, creating that compassion karma to open up your wisdom and open up your heart, so to speak.
I love that. I mean, it's funny because I have my own little version of that, in that that's not like, it's just kind of, stems from like the meta world peace type prayer, where I'm just thinking about sending love to everyone. And so my version of what you're just describing is, if I can be conscious and feel in tune with it enough, I will, when I walk through the world going anywhere, I just have the word love. And I every person I see, even way down the street, if they're way close to me, everyone, I just try to let the word love repeat, and I place it on each person and each situation that comes through, and I'm just saying love, love, love. You are love. I am love. Love, 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 love. And it even sounds a little bit silly to those that haven't tried to do something like this.
You hippie, you.
I know. It's totally my Northern California yoga hippie version of your Tibetan Buddhist thing.
Tree hugging hippie, you. I knew it.
I know. Guilty as charged.
It's
But
okay. I still love you.
Thank you. It's funny though, because I will say, I do it relatively often. I haven't been out a lot lately, obviously, so it's not like I've been out like doing this meditation out in public. But when I first moved to this place here in LA, I remember getting here, unpacking the trailer, and was like, okay, me and the dog are going to go for a little walk and see what our neighborhood's like. And I was like, I was feeling very aware. And I just, I was like, I'll do the love thing today. I'll do the love thing.
Okay.
So
That'll help.
Me and Kims are walking the neighborhood. We go, you know what? Intuitively, like, we're going to go this direction and circle around the block this way. And I'm just like, love, 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 love. And then we got halfway around the block, and there was this little mini mural that had all these hearts, and it said love on it. I was like, that's so good. So I was like, okay, total sign. I'm going to keep going. So I keep walking, love, 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 love. Get another block around, and I turn at this gas station, and it's the same artist as the mural before, but it's huge. and parked right in front of this wall of this amazing art is a 1966 Chevelle Malibu Super Sport,
Ooh.
which is the car that my dad had. My real dad. I was conceived in a car like this back in the day, and growing up, that's the car I learned to drive in. And my real dad passed away a while back. So it was like this really beautiful, like welcoming, like, oh, here's my neighborhood, and here I go out saying love, love, love. And then I see the little one, it's a little indicator, and then I flipped, and I'm like, now that I just started crying. I was like, that's amazing. I was laughing and crying at the same time. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
So amazing.
It's awesome.
So, yeah, I've had my own little experiences with that type of practice, I guess.
It's good. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing so much with me and all listeners today. I can't say thank you enough.
No, thank you for having me. It's great to see your face. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances, it's strange, but at least we got to chat. I love you. I'm very proud of you, and I'm happy to sit and talk with you anytime. Love you.
Likewise. Love you, and very proud of you, and I can't wait to see where it all goes next. I'm thankful that we're safe. I'm thankful that we're healthy, and and please give my best to the sugar homies.
I will.
I'll send them messages as well and say hi. But yeah, thanks for your time today, and I guess we'll cut it off here. And
yeah, great. Yeah, great questions. Great questions. It was awesome. Thanks.
Look forward to having you as a guest teacher for some yoga meditation stuff later.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Have a great day, Jess. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.